So which guitars are the best? Well, the cliches are as follows. You want classic rock power? Gibson. Need versatility and iconic tones? Fender. Craving modern playability with killer looks? PRS. But what happens if some famous guitar players over the years used a Les Paul instead of a Strat, or a PRS instead of a Les Paul? And I know PRS didn't exist yet when Comfortably Numb was recorded, but what if David Gilmour played a PRS? I mean, what if Kirk Hammett used a Strat to play the solo for Sad But True? What happens if John Frusciante never picked up that Strat and he was a Les Paul guy? How would Snow come out? Today we're diving into the holy trinity of guitar brands: Gibson, Fender, and PRS. Each one's got its own vibe, its own tone, its own backstory. Kinda like pizza. Gibson's the deep dish, full of energy and raw power. Too heavy for some people, but I love it.
So thick. That may be the thickest one I've had.
Fender's iconic, simple, and always delivers. Kinda like that classic New York slice.
That's like a good New York slice.
PRS is the gourmet artisanal pie. Maybe looks so good I don't even want to eat it.
There's cheese inside the meatballs.
For this video, I chose the best model of each brand to represent each respective brand in the shootout per se. So let's get the controversy started early, shall we? Do you agree with my choices? First, Gibson, we're choosing the Les Paul. I mean, you could say SG or even make an argument for the Flying V or an Explorer, but Les Paul is literally the creator's signature axe, and all the iterations that have been born from it make it an easy choice for me. For Fender, it was a toss-up between the two obvious models, Strat and Telecaster, and well, I went with the one that I like more. The Strat. Both have their histories, but most lay people will recognize the Strat body shape before anything else, so there you go. The iPhone emoji for guitar is a Strat. What more proof do you need? Finally, PRS will choose the flagship model and my personal favorite of their lineup since they came along in 1985, the Custom 24. And you'll notice these three axes are all standard models. This is a PRS S2, which is the middle of the line. This is the Texas Special, which is not more than a $1,000 guitar. And this is a standard Les Paul. Nothing fancy going on here. We'll delve into the histories, the tones, and compare whether these models can do what the other one can. I don't think you've lived until you've heard Red Hot Chili Peppers played on a Les Paul. Make sure to check out the timestamps if you want to hop around and let me know which guitar brand you dig the most. First, the Gibson Les Paul. It's been around since 1952. Think Jimmy Page / Gary Moore, to name a few. And what makes it iconic? I don't know. The mahogany body, the maple top, the humbuckers, the sustain for days. This thing practically sings. Your back might hate you after a 2-hour gig. That's the one thing about Les Pauls. They're literally heavy guitars. I mean, I once tried to bench press a Les Paul, and it turns out my arms are not as strong as the sustain of a Les Paul. Next up, the Fender Stratocaster. Leo Fender put this thing out in 1954, and where the Les Paul is all about power, the Strat is fluid and versatile. Think Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, and Stevie Ray Vaughan, to name a few. An alder body, 3 single coil pickups in that snappy tone. It's an iconic sound. I don't know how many other words there are to describe a Fender Stratocaster. Lighter than a Les Paul, so it's easier on gigs, but single coils tend to make some noise, so there's no bucking of the hum like in a Les Paul. Which leads us to our third guitar brand. This is a PRS Custom 24, and PRS are sort of the new kid on the block in this conversation, even though they've been around for 40 years. PRS guitars were built to compete against the titans of the guitar world, Gibson and Fender, and they really combine a couple great things about those two respective brands. Dual humbuckers and a super comfortable neck. That's one thing that stands out with PRS guitars. Very consistent necks no matter what model you pick up. Moreover, you have humbucker tones as well as split single coil tones, so PRS has always been like having 2 guitars in one due to their advanced electronics. Let's put these guitars back to back through the same rigs, playing the same licks, so you can really feel the differences each of them bring to the table. So those are the baseline clean sounds, and as you heard, the PRS has both humbucker and single coil capabilities with that push-pull knob. But of course we know the Strat has those out-of-phase 4th and 2nd positions. Of course, the Les Paul has the notorious woman tone. Just roll that tone knob all the way down, move to the middle position, bam! Offensively good tone. Let's hear how all these guitars stack up in a mid and higher gain register, shall we? comments and tell me which one of these guitars you would pick if you could only choose one. You know, I go back and forth. Can't we just have 3? Isn't the formula to calculate the appropriate amount of guitars to own n plus 1, where n equals the amount of guitars you currently own? Yes. Yes, it is.